Hi everyone and welcome to my Crackling Energy Sorc guide for Season 11. This is what I believe to be the best build in the game with what we have seen from the PTR and the patch notes, so I want to walk you through it. This build kinda has it all. It is super fast, one of the fastest farming builds in the game. It has a very high damage, it can push the highest tiers compared to basically anything else. And it is super easy to play as well. So it's a very smooth ride all the way. It is mostly based on the Azadora's Overflowing Cameo unique, which is the unique amulet that makes Crackling Energy a lot more powerful, and this is how we scale up the damage to just be incredible in the late game. So you have a very smooth progression curve as long as you acquire that unique first, and I have a planner ready for you guys to go to walk you through and give you all the different steps that you can work towards. We also have a Maxwell guide coming up for this, so stay tuned for this. I'm not the guy writing that Maxwell guide, but I will also have that link down in the description along with my own planner that I have made from my own testing here. But yeah, as you can see on the PTR, this was a very smooth walk through like pretty high pit tiers. You can do like sub 90-second clears of this, which is among the fastest you can expect on any class. And this is now also going to be a lot stronger with some of the masterwork changes that have occurred, the pit scaling changes. So we expect clears in the range of probably 110 to 120 plus on the high end with this build as well. So it will go very high. So the basic idea of the build is that you always stay in this rapid discharging mode that you get from the Azadora's Overflowing Cameo. You can see this here on our above our XP bar. These have the Crackling Energy charges that constantly tick down when you hit enemies, and then you try to refill them with your own attacks, most importantly Ball Lightning, which can generate Crackling Energy charges for you. So you basically try to just kind of keep up your energy charges, and like this you will constantly have those zaps automatically hitting stuff around you, and this is what does the real damage here. And since this is mostly single target based, you actually have this super high boss damage where even on a pushing tier, you actually blast down a boss in like a minute or something like that. But on the other hand, you know, you can't really eat through like large dense packs so easily when they're very tanky. So it is mostly like a very single target oriented build, but it does have very good clearing capacities when you go fast, when you're farming, and there's nothing to worry about here. So here's my planner. We have a few different steps, so starter, ancestral, mythic, and so on. So you can click through those. I will also walk you through them. We have the Paragons here. There's also different progression steps starting at 200 and the skill tree. So that's kind of like the most important things. And then a bunch of other like information that I will also show you now. So what you need to know is, well, you need to have Azadora's for this to function. So I have the starter variant with that unique already in there. So try to get this as soon as you can. When you're level 60, it drops from Lord Zir. So you can just try to farm up a bunch of Lord Zir blood and try to get this thing. And once you have it, you can effectively switch to this and start blasting. The way that you scale up your damage is by investing more into just generic damage multipliers. So for example, lightning damage, random additive damage, crit chance, but also the extra skill ranks. So here it says that every skill rank in equipped shock skills gives you plus 10% damage. So this is very similar to just like adding more ranks to your main attack usually on other builds. Here we just put all of the shock skills in our bar and we try to get more ranks to them. So for example, we have charge bolts on a bar, we have ball lightning. These are in the chain lightning, for example, they're all core skills. So we try to put core skill ranks on our gloves. And this boosts the damage of Azadora's. And yeah, the same with like all of the other skills. In the late game, you actually get to the point where you have something of a combined like 100 skill ranks. If you look at this here, there's like 27, 25, 8, 25, 4. It's a lot of skill ranks, so you get something like a 1000% damage multiplier from this effect in the late game. So even though our actual skills don't really do any damage, we still want to invest as many ranks as we can into them in order to just boost the damage further and further. But as soon as you approach something like, let's say 70, 80 plus skill ranks, you can also consider maybe going for some other like stats on your gear if you need more survivability, maybe a life roll or something like that. But I have made this setup relatively durable, so I don't think you should really have much trouble surviving with this. While we added one note about Familiar, this is usually not a lightning skill, but it can transform into a lightning skill. So we have 5 lightning skills here, and then we have, for example, elemental synergies. So we get a doubled bonus for this, for having the entire bar full of lightning skills, and Familiar actually transforms into lightning when you use a lightning skill before it. So don't get confused about this. This actually also counts as a lightning skill, or a shock skill rather. And in that case, we get this elemental synergies, and we also have the extra synergy for Isadoras with the skill ranks. There's a few very important aspects here. So we have the charged flash aspect. This has a pretty strong damage multi for Crackling Energy, and so does Abundant Energy. Both have very high damage multis. Plus here we get the extra chain, which can be really useful for a bit of better clear, and it's just a bit more damage output in general. And here we have this charged bolts effect. So we do have charged bolts on the bar, but we don't actually want to press it. We mostly want to spam our ball lightning to get more Crackling Energy charges in order to sustain the rapid discharge. And sometimes we get the random charge bolts cast from our unstable currents as we spam our other skills. So this is mostly where those waves will come from, but we don't really use this transformation effect of the charged bolts here from this aspect. It's mostly there for the damage. In the late game, you also have a bunch of other uniques that are really powerful. So we have Galvanic Azurite. This was introduced in Season 10, has very good stats and gives you extra damage as well for lightning skills in particular, and also pulls enemies together a little bit with the Crackling Energy. Kind of useful. Then we have the Orzivane. This is the new Season 11 unique, very powerful. Again, we have many core skill ranks that you want to boost as much as possible, so this helps us. And then you have this effect here where you want to avoid having defensive skills on your bar, and instead you get extra damage and you get the enchantment for free. So what this means is that you want to not have Flame Shield or Ice Armor or Frost Nova, and then you can decide, do you go with Teleport or not. In most of those setups here, I do have Teleport on the bar, so we lose a little bit of the extra damage value. But if you're talking from like a farming perspective, like T4, pit farming, and so on, you don't need this little bit of extra damage here. You just put Teleport on the bar, so you have more teleports, you can go even faster, and then we also put a Teleport enchant ourselves. The other option is, for example, in a push, you actually don't have to teleport anymore at all. Then you just get the teleport enchant for free, and this is how you move around, and we put another lightning skill here. So you have a bigger damage multiplier from your Orzivane. You can see here in the previous variants, we have a bunch more like legendary effects as well. So before getting all those uniques, there is a bunch of stuff that is also useful. There's Shredding Blades for vulnerable damage. Here's Concealed Aspects. You usually have a barrier going. And we also have Vehement Brawler. We click Unstable Currents usually every 10 seconds. So that is like almost permanently up. So all of that helps you a little bit early on until you get those really big unique items later. And finally, for the mythics, we have 3 of those in this build. So Star Disguise is a very nice multi, also has core ranks, which is really useful. Shroud obviously is very strong, but you could consider also putting in Raiment of the Infinite. If you want to have more teleport, then this might be an option. So this was actually buffed in the final patch notes here, so you can see this if you go to Raiment here. So it has a lot of teleport cooldown reduction now. So if you want to go even faster, that is an option, but I don't think that this will really be such a problem. I believe that this will probably not apply to the enchantment of teleport, which is where most of the teleports come from. So you already have like a relatively short cooldown on your base teleport anyway, also thanks to the Bounding Conduit aspect, which reduces the overall cooldown of teleport. Also very important actually for the Crackling Energy, hitting additional enemies here. And in that case, you are going pretty fast anyway, so I'm not sure if Raiment is really going to be a thing, and Shroud gives you a lot more damage and a lot more survivability as well. Then we have the Petition here. This is also, again, core ranks. Crit chance is nice, and it helps you to get capped. You want to get to 100% at some point, and also the 60% extra damage bonus. Theoretically, you can also run with a Shaco. It makes you very tanky, gives you even more cooldown, but I don't think this will really help you more than the Air of Perdition, which just gives you like this huge damage upgrade here. It's like double damage or so compared to a Shaco. There are a few slight differences here in some of the other setups. So you see, for example, in the Ancestor variant before the Mythics, we do have a Raiment, and then we have a God Slayer, and so on. So you can just like look through this depending on your progression. And then you also have Sanctified. This is a bit of a question mark. We don't know which are the aspects that we can sanctify in our gear. So I was like doing somewhat of the optimistic route here, where I just put like all the best aspects that if they are available, you want to have. So in some cases, you actually want to, for example, move some of the aspects from your imprints onto, for example, the amulet here. So you see this is the Crackling Energy aspect here at the bottom. So if that is available, then this would be ideal to have on the neck. And then you want to actually imprint something else on your actual legendaries. But this is like, you know, very high-end stuff, and we don't know 100% if this is actually available, so we'll have to see. And then we have the push variant. So the main thing here is that we try to get the full modifier for Orzivane. So we remove the teleport from the bar, we have Lightning Spear here, and also have Temerity. The other setups here have Tybalt's Will for extra damage, You can also just run Temerity full time if you want. If you feel like you don't care about the extra damage you get from Tibalds, then this is just a really nice defense. Even though we already have barriers available to the Sorc with, for example, our passives here, like we have the energy focus there, and we have protection here. So this gives you some barriers already, but they were nerfed a little bit, and then Temerity makes it very tanky. And on this build in particular, when you're doing like, for example, high tier tower pushing or something like that, you generally want to focus on elites and kind of like to face tank them so that you stay as close as possible to them to set them with the Crackling energy, because it always targets the closest guy. So that also helps a lot here to actually deal damage to the right targets. The skill tree is here, it's relatively straightforward. I'm just going to talk about the main points. So we need like 1 point here in the basic skills. So we have the Arclash, we can also put the Arclash enchant. We generally want to have 2 lightning enchants because we have the enchantment master Paragon board. So just keep that in mind, you don't want to put like random enchants there. This does give us more damage if we have any sort of lightning skills as enchantments. We try to invest ranks where we can and get some of these upgrades. For example, we get the damage reduction here on the charged bolts. You get more Crackling energy here from the chain lightning. So even though we don't use those skills, occasionally they will trigger thanks to our ultimate with the unstable currents, just constantly spitting them out. We also, this is very important, have the extra Crackling energy generation from the ball lightning. There's also the extra attack speed, which is nice, so you can spend them faster. And we also have the lightning spirit sometimes coming out, and stunning stuff, also applying vulnerable when they crit. So this is our source of vulnerable here, so if you're wondering. And then we have a lot of passives here, mostly like offensive passives, so a lot of damage stuff. One worth mentioning here is the Invigorating Conduit. So this is like a pretty important source of mana recovery. There is also other sources, but you want to make sure that you have this as soon as possible. Maybe in the late game you can think about taking some points out. If your resources are totally fine all the time, you can try to min-max this a little bit. We also have stuff like the elemental synergies, very powerful with the full shock bar that I mentioned earlier. We also have the cooldown for evocation, very nice. And yeah, the rest is like kind of just like generic, like either damage or damage reduction passives here. So we have like some of the cold stuff, the lightning stuff here. Here's like very good defensive passives all around. Glass Cannon is very strong. And lastly, our key passive here. So overflowing energy is both a huge damage buff, then it also buffs the Crackling energy to hit more targets, and it also gives you cooldown reduction when you hit enemies with your Crackling energy. And since you're constantly rapidly discharging, it hits like multiple times per second, so you can actually reset your cooldowns really quickly with this. So you see here, for example, in this planner, Unstable Currents has a 27 seconds cooldown, but as long as you're hitting enemies, this actually goes down to maybe 5 seconds or something like that. So you will be able to press this on repeat every 10 seconds, for example. This also resets your teleport. So when you have teleport on your bar, this will actually come back way faster than the 4 seconds it says here. So like this, you actually still have the teleport from your bar and the teleport from your evade that you can kind of just cycle back and forth. And like this, you can constantly fly pretty close to what the Sorcs used to do in the previous seasons before they changed the teleport cooldowns. Just one thing to note here with teleport, all they added is you want to have boots with the maximum evade charges. So the evade's cooldown reduction does no longer work for the teleport enchant. So the maximum evade charges gives you more charges, and they can also like recharge while only one of them is missing, for example. So you use one evade teleport and then you use a normal teleport, and then before you use the next one, it's already like half back basically. And whenever you fight enemies for a little bit, usually the charges kind of regenerate, and then you can fly like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times in a row or something like that. And finally, here's the Paragons. So I would suggest that you should probably be something like at least Paragon 50 to 80 or something like that. So you want to have kind of like these 3 boards here with like the legendary nodes unlocked. So Static Surge is a pretty important one because it has a lot of mana regeneration. This helps you to like spam your ball lightnings. It's a pretty costly skill. So before you get Stardust Skies, for example, this is like a really big thing that helps you. Same with the Unleash. The mana regeneration here is very nice, so that's why I have it. And you can also think about potentially investing into more resource cost reduction. You can roll and temper that on your jewelry, for example. So this might help you out early on. So just something to keep in mind. But yeah, Static Surge, you want to have that. And then there's also Ceaseless Con, which is like the Crackling energy board. So this is also very powerful. You want to try to have this, and then you're kind of online. Another thing here is Enchantment Master. This is mainly there to make your teleports better. So your teleport goes from 5 seconds cooldown with this to 3.5, so it's very nice. And it also has a really nice damage buff attached to it. And then we have the final board here, Frigid Fate. It's just like extra damage against vulnerable. And yeah, all of the glyphs are effectively just damage buffs anyway. There's nothing really crazy going on with any of those. And that concludes this build guide here. So I hope you enjoyed this. I wish you good luck in Season 11. I'm definitely looking forward to playing the Sorc. I think this build in particular is going to be very fun. Sadly, there's not really that much else that the Sorc has going for it. But at least they have an insane build with the Crackling energy. So I'm definitely excited for it. Hope you like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time.